Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So in today's video we sit down with Yeatle, who is a top 500 Hammond player, number 1 in NA, because according to Tavik, Jane and other people, Hammond is going to make a big resurgence in popularity due to the armor changes. So now I figured it was a good time to sit down with Yeatle on what he thinks of the hero and the state of Hammond currently. You can check all of Yeatle's stuff in the description below, but without further ado, let's get started. So I guess we'll start off with, why should people be playing Hammond at the moment? And of course, who are you? It's the first time that you've been on this channel.
Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Yeatle. I am a Wrecking Ball main. I'm pretty good, I think. Yeah, so the armor changes right now put Hammond in a really good spot because he does a better job at contesting tanks, like especially D.Va for starters. Since D.Va also had the Matrix change and the armor change, she won't be taking 1v1s as much. He's always been really good at taking 1v1s with other tanks, but now he's even better because, like, for instance, a Zen heal orb isn't enough to keep a tank, like, just face tanking you in a 1v1, I guess.
By your definition, how would you say Hammond should be played? Because, you know, he's not really a main tank, he's not really an off tank. In your eyes, where is he really good and why does that seem to have been improved?
I think that he's really good at being an engager or a disruptor, and that's kind of like the two set playstyles that he has. Sometimes he'll be the one to start the fight, start the dive. He's a flexible hero, so like I think he can be played as a main tank, an off tank, or even a flex DPS. So depending on that, he'd either be the first engagement, or he'd be something to like tie up the back line, eat the CC. That way, say for instance you want to run Ryan, Zarya, Hammond. That way your Reinhardt's not going to be taking a stun or any of that. You'll be taking it all for him.
So it's really all about sort of taking the heat from your team more than anything else.
Yeah, for the most part, it's... A lot of people like to compare it to Old Tracer, how Old Tracer goes into the back line, pull resources, contest point, all that. And it's kind of similar for Hammond, except not anywhere near as dangerous, because you have a lot of HP to work with, and 1v1s are more in your favor since you're a tank, of course.
I guess that raises the question then of what kind of big mistakes do you see other Hammonds making, really?
Yeah, I think a really big one that I've noticed is that a lot of Hammonds tend to stay around too long. When you go in, you don't want to stay there. You want to try to back up, assess the situation, see if, hey, am I going to get blown up for pile driving into 6 people? Sure, I have all this HP, I have 1,300 HP, but am I going to get burned anyways? So I think the main thing is when you go in, you want to get out right away. You don't have to go all the way out, but just enough so that you're kind of safe. You have the option to go back in or run away. I think a lot of Hammond players don't do that, and it ends up feeding.
I was just going to say, when it comes to like pairing yourself up with other different tanks, it doesn't feel like Hammond really meshes with any of them amazingly well. But for you, what off tank or main tank do you want to see alongside your Hammond if you're playing more of a traditional 2-2-2?
I think a lot of people are sleeping on Winston Hammond. Like it's a really underrated combo. They say, oh, double main tank's bad. Sure, you might be lacking a little bit of damage, but the rest of the team comp can fix that. One thing that Hammond and Winston do really well is that Winston can drop a bubble, and that can stop Hammond from getting hacked. He can get stopped from getting stunned. It does a lot for him. The main thing is that you want to make sure your monkey player knows that he's not supposed to dive in, shift in. Rather, he just wants to drop from high ground, drop the bubble. That way, you guys are both safe. You can both get out immediately. So it's like a front line that's there and can disappear in an instant.
Right, and I guess on the same sort of thing, what isn't a good pairing for Wrecking Ball and somebody else? What other tank do you really not want to play with?
I think it goes without saying, Roadhog doesn't do anything for Hammond. If you're gonna pick Roadhog, you might as well pick another DPS at that point. Roadhog and Hammond doesn't do much. I mean, sure, you can make the argument that you can combo hook with Pile Driver, but I think D.Va is just a little bit overrated, because if you have a Brigade or something, so you don't need D.Va to peel for you. You more so need D.Va to peel for your backline if you're playing Hammond correctly. And usually you'll have a Brigade or something, so you don't have to worry about your backline. But the problem with D.Va is that a lot of D.Va players will just use their boosters to commit on a dive with you, and you'll end up leaving, and your D.Va's going to be in the dust.
Really, when it comes to your win condition as a Hammond, you've sort of said getting into the backline being massively disruptive, but can you like give an example of that? Like sort of your thought process if you're attacking a point or defending a point, what you want to try and do? Because I feel like it's so much easier on any other hero really to go, right, this is my role, this is my job. Whereas Hammond, it feels like people go about it in such a wrong way that they end up feeding. Like I don't think any other hero feeds as much as Wrecking Ball does.
I think, let's think of one example. You're on Dorado defense. The team has the payload at the first choke. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to be like dropping either on their backline or specifically maybe around the entire team. That way you get like a team pile driver off and you can get more shields from doing that. And that team's going to turn around and try to deal with you, but you'll run away immediately. That's what I mentioned earlier. You want to run away after you engage just to assess the situation. And if they decide to stop chasing you, you just roll right back through. And in doing all this, you're building ult charge, you're distracting the enemy, and you're contesting the payload, all while the other 5 players on your team are doing whatever they have to do. And I think that's kind of the reoccurring theme or the common thing you'd want to do on almost every map or game mode.
I think you highlighted a really good point there of you spend so much time seemingly away from your team, away from the payload, away from everyone in some cases. Like I'm sure we'll have gameplay in the background showing how you maneuver around, but how do you make the most of your time, I suppose, as Wrecking Ball? Because you have to spend time out of a fight, in which basically it's kind of a 5 versus 6 in a lot of cases, right?
So ideally, whenever you do your engagement / disruption thing, you'll tell your team. That way, in that window of time, they'll be able to either get like a headshot off, the Genji will follow up and maybe get a dash on the Zenyatta or something. It's mostly a communication thing. You have to let your team know that this is happening now, that this is the fight. And when you get out and there's nothing really happening, that's the whole thing. You want to get out with a lot of HP. That way you can re-engage immediately as soon as you can. But always contesting the payload, even at low HP, even if it means you're dying, isn't the ideal thing you want to do.
In the current climate of the game, is it a lot easier now to play Hammond than ever before? Or has it been like a slow power creep for you where you felt that over time Wrecking Ball has just got a lot better because you yourself have got a lot better at playing him?
I think it's a little bit of both. Because right now, it's a new patch, people don't really know what they want to do. They're not actually running goats all the time, at least in my games. Not all the games is goats. And I think that really caters to Wrecking Ball, like not having to fight the Zen goats where you can't actually kill anything because of armor and all this other stuff. So right now he's in a pretty good spot. Yeah, now is definitely the best time to play Hammond. If you're going to pick any time, this is the best timeline.
How do you sort of make life easier for yourself then? Because you can't really help what your team's playing a lot of the time, and they may not want you to play Wrecking Ball in a lot of cases. So how do you help them to help you, sort of thing? Because you don't want your team doing the opposite of what you want them to, and then them flaming you and blaming you in a lot of cases. Like, how do you help your team enable you, I suppose?
I think Wrecking Ball is a hero where you really need to communicate with your team and do shot calling and all this stuff, because you know what you need to get done, but your team doesn't know because they don't play the hero. So what you'll do is you'll look, okay, we've got 2 hit scans, we don't have a shield, they have 2 hit scans, I need to go for the hit scans. You play to whatever your team composition's win condition is, and if it's playing for ultimates like Nanoblade, you tell your team, we're going to play for ultimates, we're going to play for Nanoblade. I'm going to go in, I'm going to take the stun from the shield bash, we're going to Nanoblade. It all depends, you just need to assess what do we need to do in our team composition versus their team composition to win.
When it comes to sort of the meta that you've been playing, sort of in the highest tiers, at least on Wrecking Ball, from your experience, what do you feel could change in terms of other heroes going up and down in popularity? Like, a lot of people are saying that snipers could come back in a big way. You have Ashe, you have Widowmaker, you have Hanzo. Where's Wrecking Ball's place in all of that? Will he go up in popularity too because of that? In terms of a meta perspective, what do you think about that?
How I think it's going to be is I think Dive is easily going to come back. I think that's a big thing. Dive's coming back. And I think Wrecking Ball is going to do definitely really good against double snipers. But I think the answer to that, to diving double snipers, is then the enemy team goes comp anti-dive. So they'll go like Kree, Brigitte, Zen, or something like that. And then you can't really dive too much because you're dead when you go in. But then you answer back with snipers again. It's kind of like you go back and forward between those two.
Right, and I'm sure Goats is going to be in there somewhat too.
Yeah, of course. That's not going away. Entirely, at least.
Kind of, what is the best composition to run a Wrecking Ball in? If you could pick the team for the rest of your lineup, what would it be?
So, I played in Jane's Peasant Cup, and our team ended up winning. It's, if people don't know, it's like a tournament where...
It was the Hero Band one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Hero Band one. Mixed ranks and whatnot. And the comp that we just hard one-tricked all the way to victory was Ball, Monkey, Ash, Farah, Mercy, and Lucio? Or was it? No, it was Ana. So the healers are kind of interchangeable, the Mercy and the Ana. But the Ash and the Farah, in inclusion with the Ball and Monkey, what the team comp does is that the two tanks are really fast and mobile, so they always engage first before the enemy team can get their engagement at a choke. And like I said earlier, we can just like roll out immediately, so we're never in any real danger, and our DPS heroes are super mobile and not really easy dive targets, so it's a lot of like spam and stuff coming at you. I think that's a really good composition, and I'd love to run that one more often, because it's a lot of AoE damage. You got Pile Driver, you got Winston's combo, you got the Ash Dynamite, the Farah Spam, the Anti-Nade, the whole 9 yards, and damage boost. So I think it's
and
really
everybody
great.
Can keep their distance.
Exactly.
True. I guess penultimately for this section of the video then, at least, what would you say for those... We're going to give some tips in another video, mind, but like... For those that are sort of on the fence about picking up Wrecking Ball, they could play him a little bit. Say like myself, I can try and play him a little bit, but I often aren't comfortable enough to bring him out in situations where people are trying to be very meta. You know, like sort of Reinhardt, Zarya, Winston, Diva. Wrecking Ball often feels that he doesn't fit in. What do you have to say for those players that really want to get good at this hero and almost get the confidence to go against the grain a little bit?
I think just go for it, man. You don't get better unless you try, right?
How many people flamed you when you were sort of learning the hero? Because he hasn't been meta at all, really. That I can imagine a good portion of the time, people weren't necessarily happy with you playing Wrecking Ball.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of complaints. But the later on, I just started getting less and less complaints. Because I think the big part is you just play it a lot until... You feed a lot until you stop feeding, right? You test the waters... You keep going at it until you get to a point where you realize, okay, if I do that, I'm going to end up dying. So you'll end up overall doing more positive than negative. And that's the important part. You don't want to be throwing games, right? So going with a lot of practice.
And finally, where can people see you playing, no doubt, a lot of Wrecking Ball on stream and stuff and other bits and pieces like your Twitter and that?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Yeatle. Rolling Kids on there. Or... you can also follow me on Twitter. You know, I have a small Twitter following. I'd appreciate some more at Yeatle_OW.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, you can check all of Yeatle's stuff in the description below. We will have another video going over some tips for Hammond that you really should know. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.